All right, so we just finished one-step equations, so now we have two-step equations. So the very first thing that we're going to do when we see two-step equations is we're going to add or subtract on both sides. Subtract. On both sides. The second thing we're going to do is multiply or divide on both sides. Okay, so our goal is to get our variable entirely by itself. So some people call that isolating the variable. All right, so that's what we're going to do. So I've given us three different equations here, and we're going to use everything that we've talked about so far this week. We're going to talk about, or we're going to use not distributing, but combining like terms, and then one-step equations and simplifying, okay? So looking at this first equation, the first thing I notice is that I don't like it, okay? And I know some of you probably snickered just a little bit, but I don't like the way it's written. So I'm actually, because it's equal, that means it can either be read like this, or I can take these two sides of the equation and flip them to make it something that I like a little better. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm just going to flip them. All right, so negative 2d plus 6 equals 42. So I'm not going to use this one anymore. So I flipped it to look a little something like this, a little better, I think. Okay, so step one is add or subtract on both sides. So the first thing I notice is that we have this plus 6. And like we talked about for our one-step equations, subtraction is the opposite of addition. So if I see this plus sign, I have to subtract. Okay? And if I subtract on one side, I have to subtract on the other side. Okay? So these zero out, and on the left-hand side, I am left with negative 2d. And this purple line going straight down, that's going to act as my equal sign. Okay? So 42, I can't do math. Thanksgiving break has literally stopped me from doing all math, so I need to pull up a calculator because I can't think. So 42 minus 6 is 36. Go figure. Okay, 36. So that was step one. Step two is multiply or divide on both sides. So the first thing I notice is that this is a coefficient and this is a variable. So these are being multiplied. So like we talked about last time, division is the opposite of multiplication. So I have to divide by negative 2. Okay? So remember, when I divide negative 2 divided by negative 2, it actually becomes a 1. Okay, so they do kind of cancel out. So negative divided by negative is positive. So I have like 1d, like one direction, equals 36 divided by negative 2 is negative 18. Final answer. Okay, just remember, you don't have to write that 1 in there. So if you don't want to, you don't have to, and you can just erase it, and d equals negative 18. Okay, so example 2, see a plus, so the opposite is subtract. Here, let me, okay, done. Okay, so when I subtract 31 from both sides, those 0, so I have 15y equals 61 minus 31 is 30. Okay, and once again I have a variable and a coefficient, so that's multiplication, the opposite is division. Okay, so these I guess you could call it like 1 out. I don't know. So we're left with the 1y. 30 divided by 15 is 2. So you can write it like that or just leave it y equals 2. All right. Last example for two-step equations. I see plus, so we subtract. Oh, let's put our line there. We know where our equal sign is, so we know what sides of the equation we're working on. Okay, these are going to zero out for us. So I have x over 6 equals 15 minus 4 is 11. Okay, so this one's a little different. Now we're not dividing. Okay, I have x divided by 6, and the opposite of division is multiplication. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 6. Okay, so we have x equals, now remember, if I'm dividing by 6 and multiplying by 6, they're going to equal 1. So we can put the 1 there, you don't have to. 11 times 6 is 66. Okay, those are two-step equations.